This is a Stamping Army Wife tutorial. Today I'm going to show you another use for the watercolor crayons from Stampin' Up. They're called Watercolor Wonder, and we're going to be using Rich Regals today. Specifically, we're going to use Handsome Hunter and Elegant Eggplant, and we're going to use them to create a watercolor painting within a line stamped image. So what we need to get started today is to cut our cardstock and our watercolor paper. So our cardstock, today I'm using Taken with Teal, and it's 4 1/4 by 3 3/4, and we need a piece of watercolor paper to do our stamping and watercoloring on. It's going to be 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. The stamps that I'm using today is called Asian Influence, and specifically we're going to be using the large flower stamp. We'll be using, as I said, the Handsome Hunter and Elegant Eggplant Watercolor Wonder Watercolor Crayons from Rich Regals. We will also need a blender pen or an aqua painter. And if you want to make this exact card, I also used the scalloped border punch that was from the Celebration catalog, and a paper piercing tool and paper piercing guide and mat, and I'll briefly show you those later on. And finally, you're going to need some StazOn jet black ink. You want to make sure you use the StazOn ink instead of the Stampin' Pads because the Stampin' Pads are water-based, and we're doing a lot of putting a lot of moisture in here today doing the watercolor painting, and that can cause the ink to bleed. So the StazOn ink will not bleed. So we're going to start by stamping the flower image because the StazOn ink does take a couple more minutes to dry than the other ink pads. So we'll work on the rest of the card while the ink is drying. So we'll ink this up. Stamp it down. Okay, and then we have our beautiful liner image. So, while this ink is drying, we'll take care of some of the other features on the card. So we want to create this really pretty border punch. So we have the border punch here. We'll insert the front of the card, and I like to look on the bottom to kind of line it up and see where it's going to punch. After you do that, you really need to use this top guide here. You'll see that we have these little guides on there. So you put the paper and slide it over so that it covers it up and matches up with the design. And once you do that, you go ahead and punch. And we still have a little bit more to go, so I'll slide it down, line it up, and punch. And that's what gives us this really pretty edge. So I'll just move the rest of this out of the way. And before we do the watercoloring on this, I want to go ahead and go around the edges, and we're going to do this detailing here with the paper piercing tool. I don't know how well you can see that on the camera, but it just has a really delicate, pretty look, and it just kind of adds a little something extra. So you do want to be careful. This is pretty much dry. We just want to make sure it's really dry before we start doing the watercoloring, because we don't want any of the ink to smear. So this is the paper piercing guide. So I'm just going to put this on here. Take the little protective cap off. I keep this cap because this is really sharp, and you don't want to accidentally poke yourself when you're digging around in your toolbox. So once you have it on here, there's little guide holes, and you just start punching. So I did a corner punch in all 4 corners. I do 1 corner at a time though, and then follow the sides. And this guide is really nice. It has a guide for 1/8 inch spacing, which is what we're using right now, and then 1/4 inch spacing is in this area here. So it makes it really easy to get everything perfectly lined up. So we're going to continue this all the way around, and then we're going to go ahead and finish our flower. Okay, so when you're finished, you want to put that protective cover back on there just so you don't poke yourself. Because I've done it before and it's not nice, alright? Okay, so now that we have all of our paper piercing done, we've given the ink adequate time to dry. So I'm going to start with the flower first. And I'm also going to show you a really cool technique that you can get a little bit of shading done. So what we want to do is take a little bit of the crayon and color it in here. Now you see I'm not completely coloring in the whole flower right now. I'm just kind of putting color around, and that's because when I hit it with the water from this blender pen, it's going to move itself around and blend itself, just like a watercolor paint. So you can see now that I'm hitting it with the blender pen, that I'm moving the color around. So when you do this, you can put color all over, or you can leave some white spots. You'll notice if you see watercolor paintings, they make use of white space and white for highlights, but I'll show you how we can pick the color back up and make a nice white spot or highlight spot. Okay. So I'm going to repeat this for the other flowers. Okay, so now I've finished the flower area, but I'm not really happy leaving the flower like this. The color just looks a little bit too heavy. It's all uniform. It looks kind of flat. So what I'm going to do is use my blender pen, and I'm just going to kind of go it off to the side, and you can see that I'll take the color out of the tip. I'm going to just go back in the edges here, go back off the page, and go back in. And this is picking up the color. You can see that this area that I'm doing a highlight on is getting a little bit lighter. Now you can do another technique to aid in this process. So you can have a paper towel, and when you get an area wet, push with the paper towel and you can see it picks up that color, and that helps give you a little bit of a highlight. So I like using both methods, just using the brush and using the brush and the paper towel. Paper towel will pick up more color at once. And when I'm doing shading and things, I tend to use the stamp as a guide. You can see in the stamp here, and this is probably a better way to look because there's no color yet, these darker areas here, that's where your color should be heavier, and then these brighter areas, these white areas, is where you should have more of your highlights. So we'll just go around and keep repeating this, picking up color. And if you pick up too much color, that's not a problem. We can go back in with the crayon, add a little bit more crayon, and then just kind of blend the edges. Okay, so you can just repeat this process around until you have the flower highlighted exactly how you like it. And don't forget to take care of your little flowers too, with just a little bit of highlighting. Go in and repeat the process on the leaves and branches. So this doesn't really take very long to dry. It's pretty much dry already because we're not putting a lot of water on there. So to complete the card, we just take our two-way tape, and if you push the tape down on your paper piercings, it's going to fold the paper back down over it, and you won't see that hole quite as nicely. So I try to stick the tape right on the inside edge of the piercing if I'm doing it around the borders. And then you just attach that to the front, and you've completed watercoloring with watercoloring pencils. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.